Hey everybody, it's Eric, and I have a game review for Napoleon Returns 1815. I know there's been a bit of a gap since the last video on this topic and this one, and that's because I wanted to try to play the game face-to-face before rendering final judgment. So a couple of weeks ago, on a nice fairly warm November Saturday afternoon, a friend came over and we sat at a card table in my backyard in Southern California, masks on, socially distanced, and played a game of Napoleon Returns 1815 face-to-face. So without any further ado, let's get to the final judgment. So first of all, I'm a huge fan of the YouTube channel Little Wars TV. And one of the things that I like that they do over there is a review of various and sundry rules that they use for their miniature wargaming. But they've got a nice way of organizing the stuff for the review. And imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. So I'm going to imitate a lot of the stuff that they have for their game reviews for my game review. And so we've got altogether 5 different elements for our game review. One is, of course, presentation. That's where we're looking at how does the game look? How do the components look? Are the rules well written? Are they understandable? The second element is going to be historical flavor. Does the game seem to capture the historical feel and the concepts of, in this particular case, sort of a corps level, army level maneuver campaign type of a game? Next is going to be our look at playability. So how easy is it to play this game? How easy is it to learn this game? The next one is going to be the mechanics. How do the mechanics work? Are they good? Are they unique? And then finally, talking about support. So what sort of support is available for this game from the manufacturer or the publisher or out there in the wider community of people who play this game. So without further ado, let's move into the first section. So regarding presentation, one of the things that I found most attractive about this game and what convinced me to purchase it was that the components looked really, really nice, and they certainly are. The different game pieces are good quality. The printing and everything else on them is very nice. It's very substantial, and it's well done. Same thing can be said with the map, which has sort of a period feel to it. And then the cards that you use for combat are made from a good quality paper, coated, so that way, you spill your beverage on it, it's not the end of the universe. They'll probably wipe clean. Same thing with the rule book and the player aid card. So simple and easy to follow guides and information. And then the rule book itself is pretty short. It's got, it's color, so it's got the different information there for you, and pretty easy to read through and look at samples of play, etc. So altogether, high marks for the components and the aesthetic look and feel of the components for the game. Regarding the historical flavor, I think it does a fair job capturing this. Obviously, the components and the map and things like that have sort of a period look to them. The playing cards have got images from paintings and things like that from the 19th century depicting some of the different battles and engagements and things like that, so they've used that. As far as with kind of getting a sense of the decisions that you'd have to make as an army commander, where you're trying to defend your supply lines and you're trying to, stay close enough to support your ally in the case of the British and the Prussians. I think it does a good job capturing that. And then Napoleon, trying to figure out what you're going to do, moving everything forward. I think it does a pretty fair job kind of capturing this sort of higher level game, and it doesn't get into as many details and as much chrome as you might have with some other games at this scale. But I think it does a good job kind of capturing the choices that the army commanders would have in this particular campaign. Next, we have playability, and this scores very high marks with playability. The rule book itself is only 8 pages long. It's got samples of play. It's fairly straightforward how it goes. I was able to learn it fairly quickly and play it solitaire. And it works solitaire, and there are some solitaire rules that you can find online, both at Worthington Publishing as well as on Board Game Geek. And then when I had my friend come over, took probably less than 20 minutes to teach him how to play the game, and we were zooming right into it. So it's very easy to play. It's very easy to learn, and it's goes pretty quickly. So playability, high marks for both face-to-face, and then probably not as high a mark for solitaire. With the card system and things like that, it doesn't quite work as well solitaire, but I'll be posting a video kind of going over the solitaire rules, and then some options that I kind of came up with. So if you are going to play this solitaire, you'll have an option to try out some different things and see if you can make it fun. Now, regarding the mechanics, it has a point-to-point movement type of system where you're basically following the roads through Belgium, and you've got to kind of go from one town to the next along the road network. So there's not a lot of off-roading available in this particular one. So I know there might be some people who like having more freedom of movement and hexes and other types of choices. With this, it doesn't play that way, and it's trying to get you to kind of move along the road routes that were historically available for the different army commanders, and some of the issues that you have where there's not roads that connect everything to everything. And so that's an interesting mechanic. As most of you know, I tend to play games that are the hex grids, where you have the ability to move around. I didn't really feel at all hindered by how this system worked, and I think the point-to-point system, where you didn't always have things connecting, made for some interesting tactical choices as far as where you're going to be sending your units, and what could be supported and what could be left unsupported based on those rules. So no problem with that. Regarding the cards, I would say it was pretty fun. When my friend and I played this, we had a good time trying to kind of deal with the mechanics of the card play, and not knowing what was going to get played. We had a couple of surprises where we had a case where I think maybe one of my corps was up against two of his corps, and I just happened to get lucky and throw a card that he couldn't respond to. But for most of the stuff, it tended to go pretty much along. Whoever had the more cards tended to be more victorious just because you didn't run out of options as easily. But with the card play, you have some interesting choices, and so I thought that was very interesting. In the solitaire, there has to be something to do with it to make it a little bit more interesting. But altogether, it worked out much better, I think, face-to-face than the solitaire does. But an interesting mechanic, and not something that I've worked with before, since I'm used to charts and rolling dice and moving, my units around in the sort of grand tactical battalion or division level type of activity instead of this higher level stuff. So fun, nevertheless. All right, next on the list is support. So they have the rules online. They've got rules for solitaire play online at the website for Worthington, as well as on Board Game Geek. And it looked like there were some people who posted some questions there on Board Game Geek and were able to get that answered. And with the game being as simple as it is, I don't know that there's a lot support-wise that needs to happen with it. But maybe as people come up with new variations for it, there'll be some need for that. But for the most part, pretty straightforward. I was able actually to download and read the rules before I ordered it. So that was something that was, I thought, helpful, being able to see some of the components and things like that and read the rules in advance. Because they are online, you can, download them, send them to a friend, so they can read through them before you guys get together to play. So that's kind of nice. All right, time for Final Judgment. And I could say that I like this game. It's a good game. It's a fun and fast-playing beer and pretzels kind of a game. My friend and I think I taught him how to play in about 20 minutes, and then we played through a game to conclusion in about an hour. And the fact that it's got the different objective cards that the French player randomly draws at the beginning of each game means that there's going to be variations with the game each time you play it. And so it's not going to be the same old, but gives opportunities for both players to try different things, experiment, and have some fun. So altogether, I would recommend this game, particularly if you are into the Napoleonic types of games. Of course, this is a pivotal and important, campaign. We all know what happened, and so as always, it's can I do better than Napoleon? And so that kind of makes it fun to see how you can do. So altogether, easy, fun, simple to play game, but kind of captures some of the flavor from the time period. And more importantly, there was a certain tension with the game where when I was playing it face to face, with what's he going to do, we both had decisions to make with our attack and our defense and things like that. So altogether, very fun and very satisfying game. If this is the sort of thing you're into, I would say check out and get yourself a copy. Alrighty. I hope that you've enjoyed this series of videos. If so, please click on the like button. And if you'd like to continue to receive these, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell for future notifications. If you have suggestions for games I could play or ideas to discuss, please go ahead and make a note in the comment section, and I will respond to those personally. Thank you, and be well.